This is Bars at Work, where leadership and personal development meets hip hop.
Let's see the next piece here. See what the criteria is for fluent.
Flow in the zone, fully immersed in your creative work. When talent, passion, and time converge, it's like God just stopped spinning the earth. Let me drop the mic in mid-verse.
So, oh man, bars. So let's back up from before you drop the mic. What you said, you basically gave a recipe or a formula. When talent, passion, and time converge, it's like God just stopped spinning the earth. It goes back to the piece earlier about losing time, right?
Yeah.
Break that down a little bit.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about this of like the skill, the passion, the different elements. This is where I'm bringing it together and just saying, if we're going to find those moments of flow state, you got to bring the talent, your passion, but then you also have to have the time. You have to carve out time for flow.
Yeah.
You have to give yourself over to the time to do this activity, because you're not always going to be in a flow state every single time you do an activity. But you have to give yourself the moments and the opportunity to get into that time. And when those things converge, you're more apt to find those moments of flow, and the possibilities and the ability to get into flow is much more prevalent. And so I'm just saying, it's like God just stopped spinning the earth at that moment, and you just know it.
And
you just know it.
It's an interesting thought of, and this is a good dialogue. How much are we in life? If you look at the time that we spend awake, what percentage of our time are we spent in a flow state versus like in a grind of life, grind of work type of state? And I would say that flow state is very small window of time for most people. I think the goal would be to try to increase that as much as possible, because now, in that flow state, I know there's science about the chemical balances in your mind and just how healthy it is for the body. But we spend so much time in life just going through monotonous things and just the grind of life and just not being excited and not letting our energy and passion flow. So I think there's a lot of people that spend that may not even feel that flow state ever. And the ones that do, it's only in certain moments, right? And that's that could be real challenging for people.
I think it's a great point to call out of just flow state it's hard to find it continuously. Obviously, no one is in flow state continuously, but if you're not finding repeated moments where you're in flow state, even the research would say that this was all based on that question of fulfillment, and finding moments of happiness. I would bet that if you're not finding flow state in your life week to week, month to month, or those moments, that most likely you're finding moments where you're actually not feeling fulfilled, not feeling content, not feeling happy, feeling like you're in grind. I mean, we're in a pandemic where people are feeling burnout like it's nothing. Like everyone's feeling burnout. Why is that? Part of it might be because we have lost some interactions, activities, or things where we used to find some level of escape, flow, fulfillment, and contentment in the activities that we were doing. So
very true.
There's something there where we all should be asking ourselves that, like, what fulfills us, and how much time are we giving over to that?
Speaking of the pandemic, that's a great point, and a lot of people are feeling that. When the pandemic first hit, our family sat down when the lockdown first happened. Back in March 2020, and my girls weren't in school. We sat down as a family, and we explained to the girls, you have to think differently now. All the things that you were getting, all the places where you were getting your cues from and how you were doing in life are no longer present. So your teacher saying, "Hey, great job," or your friend saying, "Hey, I like the way you look. Like, I like that outfit," or your coach saying, "Hey, great job." None of those things were happening. So whereas you might have been in a flow in those various moments, if it's not happening, you go into this internal withdrawal state. And I think during the pandemic, a lot of people experienced, there was talk about increased depression and just loneliness and a lot of things because that flow state was missing. And so one of my daughters in particular was a very social one. She's the one that's like gets her energy and cues from engaging with people. And it was extremely hard for her. However, when she leaned in differently, she found a new flow state in the kitchen. And so she's developed through COVID a passion for culinary arts. Nice. So even in a moment, in a place where you might feel bars at work, where you feel trapped, where you're not free to do the things that you want to do, if you lean in and you free your mind from these bars at work, you can see things differently and you can find a new passion, a new skill that you can develop and find a new flow state. So for us, that was a great testimony coming out for our family mentioning the pandemic.
That's great. That's a great story. And just kind of, yeah, if you can't find it in one direction or it's removed from you, how do you find those moments in another direction? Yeah. But I think it's so important. Again, I'm not saying that all fulfillment comes from just purely doing these activities. There's a lot of other things that go into that, but even people's spiritual endeavors. I mean, us, we talk about our spiritual lives all the time, and are pursuing our work with the church and other things. These are ways in which we find, fulfillment. And so really important.